just a reminder, this is going to be recorded, and I'm going to do a quick intro of what is Baselane for everybody that is new and has not heard about what is Baselane. And so we'll start with that, and then we're going to jump into the topic of the day, which is adapting the profit first method for rental properties or real estate investing. And so if you have not heard of Baselane and you're new to Baselane, you're wondering what it is, Baselane is an all-in-one financial platform that can help you run your rental business. We have a few core products, which include business checking, and it's a digital business checking account that really helps you automate and streamline and organize your finances. We have our own bookkeeping and reporting software that helps you not only with tracking real-time P&L, but also helps you prepare for tax time. And we have several property management tools like online rent collection, etc. So you can imagine this helps you with all-in-one, run your real estate business and run it efficiently. So we help you save time. We help you give you more visibility and control and generate more passive income. So if you're interested in that, check out the link below. Check out baselane.com, baselane.com. And so without further ado, Rocky actually has prepared a presentation for us, and I got a little bit of a peek at it yesterday, so I'm super excited for that. And I'm going to hand over this to Rocky, and just for everybody to know, we do want this to be interactive, so we're going to be watching the chats, trying to answer your questions, and so feel free to go back and forth with us. Before we do all of that, there is a poll that we always like to start with, and so that's live. Please go ahead and answer the poll questions right now. How many rental properties do you own? What types of rentals are in your portfolio? And just a little bit about how familiar are you with the profit first method. This will help all of us just to get to understand all of this better. All right, so Rocky, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you can, if you can, take over and go ahead and share your screen.
All right, I will do. Hey, quick question. I'm going to start it off. Do you guys collect 1099 from contractors and so forth if they need to, or no?
We don't at the moment. There's a different form we use today for like the rent collection that's required now, but that's something that I think we're working on.
Okay, we'll touch base on it later. I just wanted to know before we started. So we're going to talk about cash flow and specifically profit first and rental real estate. So like you said, I have rental real estate. This was one of my past rentals, a nice Class A property. I thought this would be easy. I thought everything would work out wonderfully. I would get great tenants, want to live in an, upscale neighborhood and be wonderful people. Well, I have a horror story. They didn't pay rent for quite a while. This was day one of the clean out after we finally got them evicted. And it was so bad. We literally had to rip out everything kind of in the interior. Those floorboards went. That's how far down we had to go. And I think there was about 4 dumpsters worth of crap that had to go out. And what you can't tell on these slides is the smell and how horrible it was. At the end of the day, though, one thing saved me through all of this. I had the cash to deal with it. I had the cash to deal with all the months of no rent coming in. I had the cash to deal with the eviction process. And then I had the cash to rebuild the place appropriately and deal with everything that took place. I tell you this because hopefully you will never experience something like this. But in rental real estate, simple things like, hey, I need a new roof. I need a new hot water heater. I need a new heating system. These things happen. And if you've got the cash to pay for them, they still suck. But you know what? They are so much easier to deal with. And so that's why we're doing this. We're doing this to build up reserves for 2 reasons. 1, to handle the things that you need to handle, and 2, to be able to buy more properties if that's what you choose to do. So this is my gym, and it's December. By the way, before I tell you about the gym, let's grab the chat. And if you guys could tell me, what do you think the heaviest weight in the gym is? So I'll monitor the chat too and just kind of see what everybody's saying. Go ahead and just type your answers. Anything goes. So this is my gym. It's December. As you can see, everyone is getting prepared for their New Year's goals. They're out there testing out the equipment. They want to make sure that they know what they're doing. They're getting everything set. They're getting their form down, and they want to look wonderful. So 50 pounds, that's kind of light. Each of those black ones is about 45. You can stick a whole bunch of them on one of those bars. Mental block. Yeah, you know what? That is kind of a pretty good answer. And it's actually pretty close to the reality of it. The reality of it, the heaviest weight, at least in my gym, seems to be the front door. I've seen people really struggle to get through it and take action. So the question is, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because the author of Profit First, Mike Michalowicz, goes out on stage. He does these talks. People come up to him afterwards. He's like, oh, we love you, Mike. We love the book. We love Profit First. We heard you speak last year about this. He asked one simple question. Did you open the bank accounts? And invariably, the answer is is no, they didn't take action. And so the reality is we've got to take action. Now, first off, I want to commend most of you. Did we get the poll questions yet?
Yeah, I've got the poll questions here. I'm going to read it out to you. So getting to know you, here we go. So how many rental properties do you currently own? We've got a mix of everything as is typical with the Baselane customer base, and 0 properties, 17%, 1 property, 17%, 2 properties, 22%, 3 properties, 11%, 4 to 10 properties, 22%, and 11 plus properties, that's 11%. So pretty good wide mix of folks here. Most of them, as you can see here, almost 90% are under 10, somewhere between 1 and 10. In terms of the strategy, midterm, long-term is the vast majority. 94% of people have midterm and long-term. About 17% of people have short-term. 6% are fix and flippers, and then 6% are owner-occupied. And the best question of the day: how familiar are you with the profit first method? So I already have my account set up, but I want more insight. 0%. So this is a new audience. That's awesome. Just opened my first profit first account. Awesome. Congratulations. That's 13% of people. 31% of people said I've learned about it but haven't started. So we just talked about that. And then 56% of people are saying I heard about profit first from this webinar invite, which is great. We're glad to bring the education here to everybody here.
So first of all, to the 83% of you who've already bought a rental property, congratulations. You walked through the door, and it sounds like one of them does arbitrage. So I'll give him credit too. I don't know how that ends up in the poll. I can't tell you how many times I go to real estate talks and the majority of the room hasn't bought their first property. So you know how to open the door, you know how to go through it. The reality is, in the beginning, it's all beautiful and it's fun, but over time, things get a little bit harder. So let's talk about the cost of inaction. You've already taken action on your first property for most of you. Most of you haven't taken action on profit first. So let's talk about money, right? We're all in this to make money. And my question to you, and again, put it in the chat, is how much is $1 doubled for 31 days? So I'll give you a little help. Day 1, it's $1. Day 2, it's $2. Day 3, it's $4. Day 4, it is $8. And we keep doing that until we hit day 31. So what do you all think is the total at the end of 31 days? All right, if you're not sure, ChatGPT will get you the answer in moments, right? That's your go-to these days. It's no longer Google. Over 500 million? That's a big number.
Who knows their exponents from math class in high school?
Nobody likes math. Everyone likes buying rentals and having fun and hunting the deal and doing all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that was a pretty good guess because the answer is over $1 billion, right? And that is the thing, taking small steps, buying your first house, buying your second house. So I'm going to be honest, I had my real estate license when I was in college. I didn't buy my first rental property until I was in my 40s. And so it took me a long time to take that first step. So I'm just as guilty as everybody else. Here's the real question, and it's the question about inaction. How much do you lose if you wait one day to start doubling? This is actually easy math. No answers coming in? Everyone might be on their phones. It's hard to message. Yeah. So actually, not everything, not if you wait one day, you don't lose everything. What you actually lose is what your first answer was, right? You lose $500 million if you wait one day. You wait 2 days, it's 800 million. You wait 3 days, it's over 900 million. So you're down to 100 million. And you think about that, like if you took my particular situation, if I had started buying real estate 20 years before, how much cheaper would it have been? I mean, honestly, how much cheaper would have real estate been if we all bought in 2019 to today, right? A lot of markets have doubled, if not more than that. And the bottom line is, take action. You're taking action on real estate. I want you to take action on your finances and putting your money aside and so forth. Everything that we're talking about comes out of the Profit First book. It's by Mike Michalowicz. If any of you are also business owners, this book was originally written for business owners. What we're doing is adapting it for real estate investors. And there's actually a Profit First for real estate investing that was written by David Richter. So if you want to get more specific, that'll give you some more details. Now there's Profit First for like everybody. There's all these different variations of how do I take these concepts and make them work for my particular industry. What we're going to do today, honestly, is focus strictly on the rental industry and how you use Profit First in your rentals. So we've got a saying, which is top line is vanity, bottom line is sanity, and cash flow is reality. In the world of real estate, it's more about, oh, how many doors do you have? Here's the bottom line. I don't care how many doors you have. I care how much cash they put in your pocket. If your doors aren't cash flowing, if they aren't cash flowing big, I would much rather have 10 doors that put 10 grand in my pocket than 100 doors that I was losing money or breaking even on. Granted, in 20 years, the 100 doors might be worth more if I make it, if things don't blow up. I mean, Dave Ramsey blew up with real estate. Donald Trump seems like he's always blowing up with real estate, right? There's a lot of big people who've blown up with real estate. And it's simply about cash flow. If you don't have cash flow and you don't pay your loans, right? They pull your mortgages. So the reality, and I was shocked, and this kind of comes out of the Profit First book, most business owners don't like looking at their financial reports. They all like doing the fun part. So if you're a real estate person, for you, the fun part might be sourcing the deal. The fun part might be renovating the deal. The fun part might be placing tenants or doing a short-term or mid-term rentals. There's all those different parts that we love. A lot of people don't like looking at the accounting. And this whole system was designed for people who didn't want to spend all their time looking at financials. It's actually just really intuitive and easy to use. And with what Baselane is already doing, it's going to be so simple to roll into what you're already doing with Baselane. So they make it super easy. Here's the thing. You may have an accountant, you might have a CPA, at your size. I think Baselane does a lot of your bookkeeping, so you've automated, which is really cool. But the reality is all those things are equipped to tell you what happened. They aren't equipped to drive your profit and tell you what to do to move the needles. And so hopefully today we'll talk a little bit about some of those and how to make sure that you consistently have cash. What most people do is they sign into their bank and they go, do I have money? Do I not have money? In your case, you sign into Baselane. You can see your accounts. Hey, is the cash in? Do I have cash? Do I not have cash? And that kind of starts to drive behaviors and the way that we do things. What happened with Mike is he had a business and he was told that this was the formula for how you create profit. Sales minus expenses equals profit. In this case, though, where is profit? Profit is a leftover. It's an afterthought. It's what you get at the end of the day. And he realized after he went bankrupt that he was looking at this the wrong way. He's like, the equations we're given aren't driven with the correct way of looking at things. And so what he did was he changed the equation to sales minus profit equals expenses. So you're all told, pay yourself first. Well, if you're supposed to pay yourself, then why not build that up front? And even with rental real estate, I don't know how your numbers all run out. Some people are profitable, some people are unprofitable, but you can figure all of this out when you write your deals. So don't worry about this particular analyzer, but the bottom line is when you sit down and you look at a property, you look at the purchase price and you look at what the rent is, and then some of the things you also try and calculate for to make sure that you've got enough cash and that it's going to work out is your vacancy factor. And also, how much is it for just general repairs? And beyond general repairs, the question is, what type of long-term capital repairs do I have to do? So, for example, I'm just shocked by this, and I hear these stories. They go buy a house and they start renting it out. And 4 years later, the roof starts leaking. And they're like, oh my God, I need a new roof. I don't have money for this. Well, the reality is, when you bought the house, it had a 25-year-old roof. You knew that it was going to go bad. You know that the heat one day is going to break and needs to get replaced. You know that every so often you've got to replace the flooring depending on what you're using. All of those things are going to have to be accounted for. And so, how do we make sure that when we get that bill, which we don't like, or when we have a vacancy, that we still have the cash to handle it? Because I think the last thing you want to do is take food off your dinner table or tell your kids, hey, we can't pay for this month because our renter didn't pay us, or I had to pay for a new roof. And so now I'm struggling with my home stuff. So we're going to show you what to do with this 5%. And again, I don't care what number you use. This one just happens to say 5% for vacancy, 10% for repairs, whatever it is. Come up with your number. You figure that out before you buy the house, and we'll show you what to do with that once you buy the house.
And Rocky, just to be clear on that one, it looked like sort of a deal analysis sheet or something like that. So are you going to be is that sort of pre-purchase at the analysis stage as well as post, or how are you thinking about that part?
Well, so the way I think about that is, if we said this is what's going to happen, then we want to make sure that's what happened. What's going to usually happen is that 5% that goes to vacancy, it disappears, right? It goes into your pocket maybe. The 10% that was supposed to go into repairs turns into a Disney vacation, right? And so we start to see this cash and we start to spend it. There's a reason there's a bowl of candy up here. If you had a bowl of candy in front of you right now, how many of you would just reach in and just start eating it? I mean, if I had a bowl of candy or chips here, I'd probably be done with it by the time this webinar was over, right? Um, and so it's all gone. And the thing is, we do the same thing with our bank accounts. We see cash in our bank accounts and we tend to spend it. We don't go, wait a minute, that was money that was allocated for something else. I'm supposed to not spend it. It had a purpose, but we didn't bother to use it for that particular purpose. So what Profit First does is it uses that whole concept and it actually sets up bank accounts. So Baselane will set up all of these bank accounts for you. We'll show you today how to do it. But what basically happens in this scenario is all your money comes in every month. So, most of your rents will probably come in by about the 5th of the month, 6th of the month, whenever it actually hits your bank account. And every month, you've probably got a pretty good idea of what your rent is supposed to be. And you look at your bank account and you go, I was expecting $10,000 in rent this month. I got $10,000 in rent this month. And then what we do is we take that money and we distribute it for the purpose that it was intended for. So I'm assuming most of you have financed your homes. If that's the case, a good chunk of that is going to go for mortgages. A good chunk of that is going to go for real estate taxes. Maybe you've got HOA fees. If you've got insurance, I'm assuming you've got insurance, money for your insurance, and then also for your property manager. So all of that is just money that literally is coming in and going out really quick. And so we put that all aside for that. The next thing we put money aside for is profit. That's for you. You bought these properties. You're supposed to get a return. Hey, in the beginning, it might just be a couple of dollars. Over time, as rents go up, as things improve, or maybe you pay down, or maybe you get a little bit more going on, that profit pool starts to increase. Now, we can use our profit pool for a variety of things. We can leave it there and save it for retirement. We can let it build up because of other reasons. We can go use it to buy our next property. Or if you need it for cash flow, then you can take it out for cash flow on a regular basis. The next thing we do is that 5% that we talked about for vacancy, we put in the vacancy account. We said we're going to put money aside because of repairs and improvements. We put that in the repairs and improvement bucket. So at the end of the month, this is what it looks like. Okay. I've covered my mortgages and taxes. I've got my vacancy fund building. I've got my repairs and improvements building. My profits are building. So you get a phone call right now and it's like, hey, I need a new heating system. Oh, well, there's plenty of money in my repair bucket. I can stroke a check for that. I don't have to fight. And because you can stroke a check, you might be able to get a discount or cut a deal or do some different things. Let's say this month, instead of 10,000 coming in, 9,000 came in. You had a vacancy, right? Maybe someone didn't pay you. Well, now maybe the mortgage taxes bucket goes to zero because you don't have enough to cover for the vacancy. But now I can go into my vacancy bucket. I can pick up my shortfall and I can cover my mortgage. I can cover my taxes. I can cover those bills. If you look at a syndicator, syndicators do this all the time. This is how they run because the last thing they want to do is make a capital call. I'm sure the last thing you want to do is call your family and say, hey, we're short cash in the rentals. I need to cut back at home. And so this really levels it out. And it allows you over time to build up for all these different things. And the money that you said we were going to set aside gets set aside. And you have that happening. And out of that cash flow, part of it is going to cover your vacancies and your repairs, and the remaining part goes to profit. And that's basically the way it works. Now, with Profit First, you can actually customize this as much as you want. So here are just some additional accounts. Some people have a rental business. So if you're running multiple properties and you've actually got a business of running these properties, then you're going to have what's called OPEX, which is operating overhead. Maybe you've got your own leasing agents or VAs or whatever you have dealing with it. Some people might want to do more towards long-term capital improvements because let's say you bought a bunch of houses and they're not in perfect shape. So you want to put more aside for that. So that's perfectly fine. Again, the point is you can create as many of these accounts as you want, and you can label them with whatever you want to label them. And Baselane makes it so easy for you. The other account that I put up here is the security deposit. I'm only mentioning this. This is not your money. It shouldn't be mixed in with your dollars. It has nothing to do with you. I don't know what every state law is, but I think many of the states require you to segregate it, separate account. So I'm just mentioning that that is a totally separate bank account for a totally separate reason. And so that kind of goes and sits on the side. So basically, all we do is once a month, you look at the dollars that came in from your rentals. I'm assuming it's pretty consistent. And then you go ahead and you just move the money in, and it's pretty simple inside their platform to all the different accounts. And then you go about business. It literally shouldn't take you more than about 5 minutes to do this. The question people ask me is, do I need to use bank accounts? Yeah, you do. This is a habit. Okay. It's like going to the gym and lifting weights. It's a habit. If you try to do this in the software, like trying to use a software system or a spreadsheet, it gets confusing. It's never up to date. We get behind. Life just happens. By doing it this way, it's just crystal clear. You know exactly what's going on, and it just makes it so, so simple. And so that is the key. And again, now that we've got these awesome systems like Baselane, it's just so much easier to do that. That is most of the stuff on the Profit First side. If anyone's got questions about how to implement this or do this or something specific, drop it into the chat. I just want to go through some really smart ways of running your rental business. The number one thing is to keep clean books and to keep track of everything. Again, I think you guys at Baselane make this easy, right? And gals, they keep track of all your stuff for you. The other one is to get the W-9s. A lot of your contractors may not be actual businesses. You might have to W-9 them every year. What we tell people is do not pay anyone until you get a W-9 and keep that file. And then when tax time comes, you don't have a problem. You can hand it over to you, whoever does your taxes, and they'll take care of it for you. Bottom line, we want to give every dollar a purpose and we want to have the reserves. I showed you what happened to me. There's a million things that can go wrong. COVID is a mess. Someone doesn't pay rent. Things happen. I mean, you've all heard the stories. We do this because people, and especially real estate people, they see a couple extra bucks and their first thing is, hey, I need to go buy another property. I need another property. And they don't realize that what happens is they get property rich and cash flow poor. I have talked to investors. I've seen the books of investors, 500 doors, 800 doors. They have no idea how much money is theirs. They don't know which properties are profitable. They don't know what's working, what's not working, and how things are going. Like I mentioned before, syndicators keep reserves. They don't want to make capital calls. They don't want to have to pick up the phone and say, we need more money from anybody but their tenant. And so this is you setting up yourself to run just like they do so that you can be successful. And that's really what the bottom line is. The other thing that we see is a lot of times, you start having success and then you want to buy the next one and the next one and the next one. The key, though, is you have to understand that if you're going to redeploy cash, when is it coming back to you? All right. So if I make an offer today, it gets accepted. I put a deposit down, might be 30, 45 days until the actual closing. Now I've got more money in, right? Now I do my renovations. Maybe my renovations take 60 or 90 days. Okay. And then I list it for rent. And then finally I get rent. And it might be 6 months. And, during COVID, it was worse because people couldn't get the materials or the workers. How many months of negative cash flow can you hold on to? And how can you do that? So that's one of the big things to keep track of is if you make your next purchase, how are we going to get through that cash flow cycle? And again, that's why we want to build up these reserves and have that profit account. So you can say, look, it's going to take me 6 or 7 months to do this. I've got the cash to get me through to it. And you're just aware of that. When you have awareness, things go so much easier. Some of the things that I want to look at is days not rented. How fast can you turn a property over? So for my rentals, I will always have property showings, usually about 45 days before the tenant moves out. So what we'll do is we'll go over, we'll get a chance to walk through the place. So in the back of my head, I'm starting to go, okay, this is what needs to get done when they leave. If I need to schedule contractors, I now have 45 days to schedule contractors. And because I'm in there renting it 45 days in advance, I've been able to flip properties with 0 days unrented. And the reason it was 0 days unrented, the one thing I always do is I have my leases all end at the 15th of the month. And I always have them end in the summer because summer is when I don't care when they rent them. Everybody ends in the summer because summer is peak, renewal season. And because they end at the 15th, if they go these days, I think dates are a lot more flexible than they used to be. But back in the old days, everybody rented it beginning the first of the month. And so that gave them a cushion to move out. So a lot of times my tenants will hand me their keys 5 or 10 days early. So if I get the keys 5 or 10 days early, I can do all my repairs, repainting, cleaning, everything, and pretty much have it rented day one. But every day that it's not rented is called lost cash. And so that turnover speed and the ability to turn the property is extremely important. And I'm shocked at how many people are laissez-faire about this. They hang, oh, yeah, we'll get it rented. We wait till they leave. Then we get stuff done. It sits for a month or two. I'm like, that's a lot of money going out the door, right? So you want to be able to focus on these types of metrics. The other thing is build a team, right? You want to have your painter, you want to have your plumber, you want your electrician, you want your general handyman, you want your lawyer, you want your CPA, you want some other real estate people, so that when something comes up, you've got a team ready to go. So I used to flip houses, and literally we would walk into a house, we could make an offer inside of 30 minutes. As soon as I knew closing date, all I did was pick up the phone, call a whole bunch of people and say, go to work. Right. And it did not take me a lot of work to get stuff done. When it comes to rentals, we renovate for durability. So, renovating for durability, like the things that I work on are good faucets, good toilets that don't clog. I want to use vinyl planking floor versus carpet. To shampoo carpets is expensive and they don't tend to last. Vinyl planking seems to be much more durable. And I want everything essentially to be durable so that it's not breaking quickly. People are harder on rentals than they are on their own house. I want as few appliances as possible. So washer and dryer become expensive, things that you've got to repair. Even if there's a washer and dryer in there, just say, hey, there's a washer and dryer, but we're not taking responsibility for it. And you can do that, or have them bring their own washer and dryer or their own microwave. All of that stuff breaks. When I look at my appliances, I look at them as having a 5-year lifespan. So when I calculate them, I calculate on 5 years. If it's longer than 5 years, awesome. But if it's less than that, so be it. The other thing is we standardize everything. Like I call my guy, I go, hey, tenants are moving out. Can you go touch up the paint? They always go, what color? I go, what color? It's the same color everywhere. It's the same as, and if you've always got a gallon or two of those paints lying around, you can always just hand it to the painter and say, hey, here's the paint, go touch up. And if every house is the same, it just makes it so much easier. And keep track of everything so you have your details for every one of your houses so that it's easy for you to be able to manage it. These things shouldn't be a headache. I'm assuming most of you are doing this on the side, on top of something else you're doing. The more you can do this, the easier it becomes for all of you. So that's kind of the main part of my talk today. I do have 2 podcasts, Profit Answer Man, where we talk all about this. Richer Soul is more about living the ultimate life. And we do have a bunch of real estate episodes on Richer Soul. I've talked about my journey. We've talked about a whole host of different ways to do real estate and how to be profitable, but they're more, in between other episodes that are there as well. So if you guys have questions, I know we're going to answer
Yeah,
more, and I think you guys are going to take over and show some of your stuff as well and how to make this
absolutely.
simple.
Well, first of all, Rocky, thank you so much. That was a lot of really great knowledge from a real pro, and we appreciate that. You can see everybody's listening, and I know people are taking notes. If you're not taking notes, take notes. We are gonna hopefully follow up with some of the insights too, but I think really great. I have questions for you, but since you finished with the paint one. What's your what's your go-to paint?
So, um,
Use different grades for different types, or is it kind of a standard
no, my guys do use Sherwin-Williams.
Promar 200 or
I have no idea which one. They go
okay.
by whatever the
So
expensive one.
Sherwin-Williams. Yeah.
They buy whatever they like. And I know it's good because when they come back to repaint, they can come in and do half a wall or one wall. They don't have to repaint the whole room. And you
And one coat.
cannot, one
Yes.
coat, it's done. And, we use an off-white. It's kind of a little bit yellowish.
Okay.
These days it might be gray. Like, what's the popular color? But just understand, whatever you pick, we're going for the long haul. So don't pick a color that 3 years from now you want to have to repaint the whole house because that's expensive.
Yeah, so we've got to, yeah, for sure. And I'm Sherwin-Williams as well, by the way. So plug for Sherwin-Williams here. And by the way, if your painter doesn't have a pro account, which they should, you can also have your own pro account and you can
Yes.
get discounts from them directly. They do sales and all of this stuff. Their managers call you if you have enough business, and it's good to build a relationship.
You know who else gives discounts? And people don't always know about this. If you're doing a reno for the rehab on your rental, you can go to Home Depot and Lowe's. You can come in with a complete list and say, send this to the bid room. And they will actually come back and give you a package for all the stuff that you want. The other thing I do with Home Depot is I have a credit card on file at Home Depot. My contractor goes to Home Depot, he goes up to the pro desk, and they literally
Right.
text me, and I go, yep, that's approved. And it pays for whatever my contractor needs. And I
Yep.
get the complete receipt immediately, and it ties it to the property. So I know where it belongs.
That's a great one too. Absolutely.
Um, there was
There's
a
some questions coming in here. So what I'm gonna do just quickly, because we're not gonna take too much time. It's a later today in the evening for everybody. Want to show you two things since one person asked about the rental property calculator analysis, and then we're gonna give you a quick preview of how to actually set this up. Because remember, as Rocky mentioned, you have to set up your bank accounts. Don't rely on spreadsheets because that money is gonna be like the bowl of Skittles is gonna be gone. And let me just show you that really quick and make an announcement of something that we decided to do that hopefully will add value to everybody here as a follow-up to this. Can you guys see my screen with the cool little chart here? Okay, so for folks that are on the go, and I know all of us are, this was something we designed a while ago based on one of my spreadsheets that I use for real estate analysis. This is something that's not, like super detailed, but it's a lot of information that you can get in one place and quickly just understand what the numbers look like. And also shows you when you break even, the negative months and the positive months. So here I just plugged in. So first of all, go to resources, rental property calculator. You can also go to price my rental if you want to see how much rent to charge. Plug in the purchase price, super easy, you can slide it. Plug in a rent amount, super easy, you can slide it. And then you can do advanced settings. You can go and type up all the cool stuff about the rates. I'm probably a little bit higher these days, which is not too good, right? So you have to watch out for this. That means your rent's got to be higher. Can you afford it, and so on. You can plug in the state, repairs, and all of that stuff can be entered here. Let's say you do have some rehab, and then you can do monthly cash flow, vacancy. This is the pro forma projecting. This is not the actual measurement of it. All the things we talk about, taxes, insurance, property management. Let's say you have something in here for that too. I'm just plugging some random numbers in and so on. And it gives you a cash flow. And you can see the chart of when you're in the red and when you break even, when you're in the positive. And you can see all your expenses and all that stuff. So this gives you a high level view of what the deal looks like, and it helps you just understand good or bad before you go deeper and pressure test all your numbers. Now the fun part, as it relates to profit first, Baselane has the ability to give you the unlimited virtual accounts. First of all, you can open up multiple bank accounts and tie those to your properties. But we've set up a demo account here where we're showing you how you can implement some of these things that we just talked about with what is all your rental income, get it all in one place. Ignore the numbers here. This is just dummy data. What is your PITI, property management cost, right? The pass-through stuff that Rocky talked about. And then, okay, what are you allocating? Let's start allocating to profit, to vacancies, to repairs, to operating expenses if you have any. Sometimes you don't. And also make sure you set aside your security deposit. That's a liability. That is not your money. And so this is a very quick thing. And what we've decided to do instead of going deeper here is our team will be sending you a follow-up where we're going to do a live session with whoever wants to sign up, and we're going to go and create these accounts together as a workshop. And so we'll do it together. I'll create one for myself. We'll redo this all together, show you how to set it up, and show you how to move the money from A to B, etc. As we go. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, and I do want to give time back for questions. So let's go over and start answering the questions.
All right, so I'm going to answer Michael first, only because it's an easier, faster answer. Here's what I do when you start to get multiple properties. What I suggest you do, if all your properties are in separate LLCs, okay, you really, and this is not legal advice because I'm not an attorney. Technically, each LLC should be run under its own bank account. So now you're asking, oh my God, I got to have 5 bank accounts times 5. No, here's what we do. If you're running each LLC for its own property, and you're going to get 5 or 10 properties, what I tell people is create a property management company and run everything inside the property management company. And when needed, once a year, you just transfer any cash you're taking out to the LLC. Let the property management company hold it all. So then you only need the 5 accounts and it's all done inside of there. That also gives you a second layer of it's not really protection, but everyone is then renting from ABC leasing company, not ABC rental property. So they don't, it's like even one further step removed of who's the actual owner of that particular property. So that's generally what we do for people who have multiples. I don't want you to set up tons of accounts. That just gets out of hand.
Question for you on that one though, just to make sure I understand. So you're saying you create an entity for your LLC. Are you saying in that scenario to put the 5 or 6 accounts, virtual accounts, inside of that property management entity, or get the rental income, take the fees of the property management company, send it to your LLC, and then
Well,
allocate there?
so that's 2 different ways.
Okay.
This is if you're using an outside property manager, that's fine. And then this is just the one holding company that's just
Okay.
handling all the cash. That's all. All it's doing is handling all the cash, paying all the bills. Because think about it. If you had 5 properties and you got a guy going out and you got to replace faucets in 3 properties. Now, okay, I got to pay this one from this property's account, this one from this
Right.
property. This way, everything gets paid out of that one
One.
management. It's your management. They don't even have to be the leasing agent, but it's your one management company that handles all of that stuff. And so it makes it easier.
That's great.
And then all the reserve accounts are still after tax. Yeah. Here's the bottom line is I don't think there's a way to do what he's asking. Most of you have so much depreciation that most of you really shouldn't be paying taxes, at least in the early part of the game. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. All right. And I think we answered Matt. So let's go back to the previous question. So how do you build a team? Rates for contractors are all over the place. You call for 5 roofing companies, you're going to get 5 different amounts. And here's the thing, price doesn't matter. Like the guy who's charging you 20 grand may not be any better than the guy who's 10 grand. I think it's important to just know who your good contractors are. So local to me, there's a local real estate group. And in that real estate group, some of the bigger contractors are around. So like there's a local flooring company that loves working and has an entire division devoted to rentals and flips. So we know they're our go-to for flooring, right? So that's easy. I would always have a handful of handymen around and guys who can do general work. I don't want them to show up in a wrapped truck. I mean, unless you want that attitude, a wrapped truck means your labor rates just went up 4 times, right? I want my guy showing up, right?
No
In his beat
iPads.
up old, right? I want him showing up in his beat up old whatever and charging me a reasonable amount to do the repairs. I have multiple heating guys on speed dial, and they get hot and cold. It's just so always just having that little bit larger of a Rolodex so that you can do it. Um, if you can find guys who are willing to work on the lower side, hey, look, it's a business, right? You need to do it at a reasonable amount. The second part of it, though, is you also have to take care of tenant security. So you don't want people walking in there that you wouldn't want walking into your house. So there's a balance there. The other thing is if you're doing rehabs as part of your rentals, now you're starting to build relationship with contractors. So when we were doing a ton of rehabs and my rentals needed repair, like I was paying next to nothing. because these guys were already doing all my rehabs.
They're
They're
already
like,
there.
sure, I'll take care of that. Give me $50. And I'm like, cool, take care of it. Um, Especially if they were in the middle of another project at the moment. So it's a relationship business. I've also found like we have a local Facebook group for our area, and people are always posting their favorite contractors and this and that stuff. And it's not a real estate group, it's just a resident group. And so you start to see certain names bubble up, and you start to see who's good, who's not good.
Those are
And
great
so
tips. And
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I want to add two more things to that. One is fellow investors. There's so many in the group, local groups online, folks that are here that you can network with. And they will also find, and that's just not people, could be your lender, could be your insurance broker, could be your real estate agent, could be your leasing or listing agent that is helping you rent stuff out. All of these folks should be able to help you. The other thing that I'm learning, especially for stuff like roofing, is like you have to look at companies that have been around, right? Because if your roofer disappears in 3 years and gives you a 5-year warranty, guess what that's worth? Nothing. And so it's hard to do this. I know that, but I've started looking for businesses that are more family businesses as well, that are around, that are reputable, and that are there. One joke that we have these days is that if you see the vendor walking in with the iPad, it's gonna cost you. So just keep an eye on for that too.
Yeah, and you just have to kind of figure it out. The other thing I do though, like we get those coupons in the mail. So those are really good, like for heating, HVAC cleaning, and also for like the wizard drain guys and so forth. You find some of those guys, what happens is a new franchise comes into an area and they need to build up their customer base. They're going to run all kinds of promos. And so I'll just use their
Hmm.
new promo, and then 3 years later, I'll find a new one.
I've got actually a plumber that works with them more often that was one of the in those companies. So he started his own business, and he does smaller jobs. He can't do the heavy stuff, but that's what you need. Hey, like some toilets leaking or something weird's going on, kitchen drain. Often, there's a question here about, is Baselane going to start a community? So we have been thinking about this, and you know what? Help us out if you want that. Send the feedback, send it as a request through our support team and our emails. Give us that information, and we can even do a survey. But we have been talking about that. That's something that we should start doing. Maybe it's on Facebook group or something private. But yes, we are thinking about it. I don't know the timing yet, but the more demand there is, the more you communicate that to us, the more we will think about it and try to prioritize it. Any more questions for Rocky? Man, I think we're all set here. Excellent presentation. I was learning a lot. I know I saw it yesterday, but I was also it's always good to get the repeat. And just for everybody's sake, we will be sending out the follow-up. We'll send the recording to you all, and we'll send Rocky's information as well. Definitely check out his podcast. We'll send the links to that as well. We'll post that in the YouTube channel in the description below. So thank you so much for joining. And just a final reminder, if you want to do that workshop on how to actually set up these accounts, as we set it up in our demo account, we're going to do a live workshop with a bunch of us together where we're going to just go and do it together. Just do it, set it up, and start tracking the profit. So thank you so much. We'll be in touch soon. Take care. Thank you, Rocky.
Thanks.